And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China!
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China!
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China!
Russian.
Russia!
Italian.
Italy!
German.
Germany!
Swedish.
Sweden!
Korean.
Korea!
Egyptian.
Egypt!
Nigerian.
Nigeria!
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Yeah, nothing. Yes.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
There's only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact,
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope you guys can hear me clearly before I get started. This is going to be a very simple, very straight forward, direct presentation here. Not going to be before you guys long, but I did want to touch on this during this, what will be considered you guys' lunch break, and give you some fruit for thought for the remainder of the day, as many of you, like myself, will transition into the Shabbat. So I want to talk about the Jamal Bryant. And matter of fact, let me put this banner up because I still want to continue to recognize Shanquella Robinson, justice for her. But let me go ahead and get started here. I want to discuss Jamal Bryant. And for some of you guys that are not familiar with Jamal Bryant, very controversial pastor. He was started out up in the Baltimore, Maryland area. There was a lot of controversy, a lot of legalities behind him when it came to some of the things that happened within the church that he was pastoring at that time. And we know that some of the things that he's done publicly in terms of relationship wise outside of his marriage and marrying celebrities, it's a whole list of things. And we know that he took over the church that the late Bishop Eddie Long, who was had charges against him in terms of pedophilia and settled out of court and all that stuff. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that that's what Jamal Bryant indulged in, but I can say that he is a predator when it comes to women. I can tell you that if you do the research and you'll understand what happened at his assembly, where he had gotten sat down because of getting an underage girl at the time pregnant within that ministry while he was married, right? So in a nutshell, we know that there's a lot of controversy that comes with the territory of this guy here. A lot of controversy with this guy. And now it's it's called New Birth or whatever, the ministry that he took over. Now they went from the frying pan into the fire, I guess. They went from Eddie Long and all the things that was exposed about him. Now this guy right here, right? This guy right here, now he's on record wanting to bring or pushing for the church to start growing weed. I'm just going to put it blunt. I'm not going to use all the medical or legal terminologies. I'm just going to call it what it is. To start growing weed and becoming the local drug dealer. This guy has a lot of baggage with him, and I hope you pay attention to the picture that's here. I hope you pay attention to what's happening here. This picture says so much about him, and this tells us that the day and time that we live in, and again, and for those that are not aware, my main channel, I'm in YouTube jail, so I can't do videos there for another week or so. I'll get back to doing videos on my main channel, but in the meantime, I'm going to do videos here just to at least keep content coming out. So I really appreciate you guys for the love and support here. So I'm doing my videos over here. I'm going to upload Road to Savannah on this channel. So I want you guys to pay attention to this guy here, right? Look at what you see on the screen. Now, I know this is a little humor here, weed head, Jamal Bryant, puff, puff, pass. This is Jamal Bryant at a hookah spot. Not sure where it is, probably Atlanta, because I know they have these places in Atlanta. They have these places popping up all around. Supposed to be an alternative to smoking cigarettes, whereas you do have hookah shops that's using cannabis or marijuana as well. So not going to get into that right now, but we are going to touch on that briefly here, just so that way you guys can get a proper understanding of what it is in the day and time that we live in. We are living in a very serious day and time. So let's go ahead and keep it moving. Let's go ahead and continue with this lesson. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, get the word out for those that may not be familiar with this channel, that may think that I'm in taking a sabbatical, so to speak. Let them know that, hey, I am here. I'm still doing certain things. I'm not doing as much because of me being locked down, but I am moving forward with the lessons here. And so, matter of fact, let me unlock this on Facebook. For some reason, they have when I say they, YouTube have a issue. They have a number of things that they have going on. They, for some reason, they have a tendency of putting my videos over there into a private state to where as though no one can watch the video. I have to go in and unlock it afterwards. So I'm trying to do it right now as we do this here. I'm trying to adjust the privacy there, which is, again, this is very unfortunate. The things that they are doing to suppress what's going on with the channel. That's why I transitioned from YouTube, but I did want to get this word out. So again, Weedhead Jamal Bryant refers to himself as a pastor. In a nutshell, want to start growing weed, growing marijuana, growing and selling cannabis on the property of New Birth. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with Zechariah chapter 11, verse 5. This is what it says: whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they say, and they that sell them say, blessed be Yahweh. Now, some of you guys may say Yahweh or Yahuwah. I'm just pronouncing this from an ancient Hebraic perspective. Yahweh means he exists, right? So again, this portion of the scripture, you can tie this right into what we see today with the legal system, law enforcement, murdering our brothers and sisters that we've seen on camera in the streets and not being held accountable for their actions. But the kicker to this prophecy goes to the next portion of it, where it says, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich. But here's the kicker: and their own shepherds pity them not. Our own shepherds, our own leaders, don't have a care in the world for selling out their own people, right? And this is the Tanakh translation of it, of the same passage. It says here, right, starting at verse 4, thus saith Yahweh Elohim. Some of you guys will say Yahweh Elohim. Again, I'm focusing on the pronunciations from an ancient Hebraic perspective. So no disrespect to anyone. Yahweh Elohim. Thus saith my Yahweh Elohim, tend the sheep meant for slaughter. Verse 5, whose buyers will slaughter them with impunity, whose sellers will say, praise be the Lord, praise be Yahweh, I'll get rich, and whose shepherds will not pity them. So this is telling you how the leaders are going to be selling out the people. And this is a prime example of what we see with Jamal Bryant and other leaders within our community, from pastors that are facilitating and leading churches or assemblies, to the politicians that we see. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're just dealing with pastors. We're referring to leaders who's selling out their own people, all for the sake of money, the love of money, right? And also things that they refuse to address for our strongholds in their life. Prime example, this pastor right here, not a pastor of the Most High, definitely not a pastor of the Most High, definitely a minister of Hasatan, as Paul talks about, who disguises himself as a messenger of light and makes it clear that he has ministers. That's what this guy is. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 and 8. This is the warning that Apostle Paul had given. He said, this know also, that in the last days, perilous times shall come. We're going to live in some troublesome times. It's going to be hard for everyone. Notice what it says. For men shall be lovers of their own selves. Doesn't it sound like this so-called pastor? Covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. See, not just disobedient to his parents, but it says disobedient to parents. In other words, parents of others, parents of children that are trying to do the best with their children, disrespecting them with their behavior. His behavior disrespects parents within this community, other people within this community because of their actions. So when you say blasphemer, in other words, profaning everything of the Most High, boasters, this guy boasts about everything. This guy boasts about everything. Come on, family, we got to keep it real here. This guy boasts about everything. Verse 3, without natural affection, right? And this is not just dealing with, when many would look at this text, they'll take this text and say, hey, dealing with homosexuality, right? Whether it's a man trying to be with a man, a woman trying to be with a woman. That's not just within that context. That's not just that, but it's dealing with perversions. It's dealing with men that can't keep their hands to themselves, people that can't keep their hands to themselves. Like this guy in his initial church in Baltimore had multiple women pregnant. At least one of them was underage. I think at the time she was like 16 years old when she was pregnant. And I think 17 when she had the baby. But he was known up in Baltimore. If you guys from the Baltimore area, he was doing this regularly, flashy and everything. So without natural affection, can't be faithful to one wife, right? Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of Yahweh. This is a prime example. So many are lovers of pleasure, the pleasure things, the things that are of the flesh. That's right, Sister Yvette 78. You understand, you know that area like I know it. A friend of mine had a play up there that did a play up in Baltimore. I'm not going to mention his name. And it was about a crooked preacher. And he didn't know about Jamal Bryant until Jamal Bryant reached out to him thinking that he made that play about him. Right? And I had to explain to him who Jamal Bryant is. Right? Crooked, wicked. So again, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of Yahweh. Verse 5, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away, family. For such turn away. Don't get caught up in the charisma. Don't get caught up in how articulate or how polished a person may sound when giving their message. That's what's the problem with many of these traditional churches, like the Baptist church, the Methodist church. Many of these churches get caught up because the person can be a good orator, and get caught up because they don't want to let that go. But that person is evil. That person doing all kinds of things, bringing embarrassment to the assembly. But because that's pastor being pastor, he could teach a good word, they sweep it up under the rug. Seen it so many times, all because of the person being able to articulate themselves in a good manner. Many are willing to sweep all kinds of stuff up under the rug. Is it a coincidence he's doing the same thing at the Eddie Long's former church? That was the same thing with Eddie Long. Very good at giving the word. Just because someone is good with giving the word doesn't mean that the person is sent from the Most High. All of us are trained, right? All pastors who went to school are trained on how to disseminate the word, to articulate it in a way to where it really touches that emotion of that person. Because a lot of times people are operating of emotions, not the spirit of the Most High, because the pastor made you feel a good way, a certain way. Right? There's a lot of hustlers starting at that pulpit. Look at what we're seeing right now with people that refer to themselves as men and women of the Most High. You got men pimps in the pulpits. You got women up in the pulpit doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Look at the YouTube channels. Look at the Facebook pages. Look like they're trying to seduce, get someone caught up in their web. Women showing all kinds of cleavage. And I'm not even getting into all that. I don't want to get into all of that. But we want to stay right here. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sin. This is this guy to a T, leading away silly women. How do they get into the homes? This means that he's circumventing what? The parents, circumventing the father. How does he get into that home? Social media is the easiest way that a person can get into your household. Family, if you got children, don't leave them in the room by themselves. If they're underage and they on these video games, guess what? You got predators that are connecting with children by way of playing those games like Call of Duty, sharing personal information. Kids are disappearing over someone that they met by way of a video game. You guys better take heed to this warning. So for this sort, this type of spirit, this type of evil person, it says, for this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sin. What this means is, this is saying young girls, young women that are not mature. So what they are doing, this predator and others like this, they prey on women that may not be mature, both spiritually and also mentally. They're young-minded, led away with diverse lusts. It goes on to say here, let me see here. It says, ever learning. Come on, family, ever learning. In other words, reaching high levels of academia, ever learning. But guess what? Never able to come to the knowledge of truth. Bear with me 1 second, family. Bear with me 1 second. My apologies, family. Someone was ringing my doorbell here. But again, it says ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth. When you start understanding the word knowledge, the Hebrew word yadai or yadai, that is a relationship. It's not just what you know, it is a relationship. In order to know the Father, you have to have a relationship with the Father. You can memorize text. Look, you can go to seminary, and many of those that are watching that have been to seminary like I have, right? You can go to seminary, you can reach the highest level of academia and, as far as getting your doctorate degree, and never have read the Bible from cover to cover, from front to back, not one time, because it teaches you a system of how to process information. That's why many pastors are reading the scriptures and like, wait a minute, I didn't know that this was inside the text. Why? Because you are processed to read the scriptures in a certain way, a certain angle. Every seminary has a theology, a foundational theology that they are going to direct their students to. So ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth. You could come to the knowledge of knowing information, but knowing the truth. In Hebrew, the word is aman. Some of you guys will say amen. That's the Greek pronunciation of it. But aman, it means consistency. It transliterates to faith. It transliterates to trust. It transliterates to permanent. It transliterates to going to the right hand. And we have a lot of leaders that truly don't understand how to go to the right hand of the Father. So ever learning, achieving all kinds of prefixes before their name, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Janice or James, however you want to pronounce it, and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds, reprobate reprobate concerning the faith. In other words, the Most High turned them over to themselves. When you see reprobate concerning the faith, man, they are all about themselves. And when you get turned over to your reprobate mind, that means that the Most High is giving you 100% you uncut. Now, can anyone in this chat that is watching right now, can you handle 100% you uncut? I know I can't. I know I cannot handle 100% Kelly Richardson uncut. Anyone that says that they can handle themselves 100% uncut, no help from the Most High, no wisdom from the Most High, no prayers, no fasting, no nothing. You could just handle 100% you uncut. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, you're in a dangerous territory. See, that's why I came to the Most High, because I was at that low place. I think all of us been to that low place. And you realize that, man, if you were left to yourself uncut, you would be suicidal. You wouldn't live long. You wouldn't last long. So again, now as James and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds. Notice what it says. Men of corrupt minds, reprobate, concerning what? The faith, concerning the truth, concerning consistency, concerning confirmation, concerning how to go to the right hand. Remember, these are all the different words that transliterates from the word aman. Aman transliterates in your Bible to truth. Aman transliterates to you in your Bible to faith. Aman also transliterates the word believe. Aman also transliterates to the word consistency. It transliterates to the word permanent. And also when you see right hand, also it transliterates to knowing how to go to the right hand. And our Messiah, Hamashiach, sits at the right hand of the Father. So these crooked preachers, they're going to corrupt the Aman. They're going to corrupt that Aman or Amen. They're going to corrupt how many people understand the importance of going to the right hand of the Father, which is his son Christ. They're going to start pushing themselves as being the anointed one. Aren't we seeing that today, family? We got to keep it real, family. So who is Janice and Jambres? Let's see who these guys are. Right now, this is just, going off of, like, if you read the book of Jasher, even though there's two books of Jasher, one written by the Mormons and one written by the Jewish community as we know them. So I really don't get too far into it. But if you read it to there, they'll make reference to them being the magicians in Exodus chapter 7. Right, verse 10. Some will refer to them being these people, right? And I'll just show this real quick here. And Moses and Aaron went unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. So we see that Pharaoh had servants, right? Here's the kicker, verse 11. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, right? Kashap Yam, right? Plural. Now the magicians, Karatam or Kartam of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments, Lahat, right? So we see here, Pharaoh called in the wise men, the sorcerers, the magicians, right? Because the whole intent, the goal was to mimic the miracle, the sign that the Most High has given to Moses. Most High gave him two signs: his staff, which is his identity, also his skin, right? Becoming white as snow, right? His skin complexion, his dark, melanated skin, right? Turning into non-pigmentation, albinism, right? So he gave him two signs. That sign of his skin complexion changing, that was for Israel. But he also gave this sign here, the staff, to Pharaoh, right? To Pharaoh. So now we see his magicians, his sorcerers, they are trying to mimic, right? The miraculous thing that the Most High has done. See, that's what witchcraft is. That's what sorcery is. That's what enchantments. Now, when you're dealing with enchantments, you're dealing with charms by way of what? Reciting things over and over again, by singing songs. That's what it means when you start getting into the word enchantments. So when you start understanding this here, these guys are using these different methods to try to do what? Mimic the miracle, to mimic the signs that the Most High has given. See, when the Most High don't give a person a sign and they still trying to display these signs, that means they are operating in witchcraft. That's what it means. So the Most High gave Moses the sign, but Pharaoh's, again, wise men, his sorcerers, his magicians, they began to try to attempt to mimic the signs that the Most High had given by way of witchcraft, by way of sorcery. Right? So here's the Greek definition of witchcraft. So again, I just wanted to share that passage there. And I'm not saying that that's the passage and the reason why it's questionable, because they're saying that those two individuals are part of the Egyptian staff, the magicians or wise men, the enchanters. If they're saying that those two men was part of that, well, I beg to differ. Why? Because when you read 2 Timothy chapter 3, we see that these people are people from within. These are not strangers. They fell away. So, again, there's some, few will say that this is who they're referring to. Others say that they're not. But again, the key is witchcraft, which leads me to this word here, pharmacia, right? You guys heard of this word. This word transliterates to magic. This word transliterates to sorcery. This word transliterates to witchcraft. Right? So when you see the word pharmacia, doesn't it sound familiar? Pharmacist, as we see here, pharmacy, medication. So when we think about witchcraft, right, we automatically think about the big businesses. When we start getting into the big pharma, right? You start thinking about Pfizer and some of the other pharmaceutical companies. Right. But the problem is we think of drugs, right? But we don't think about what they use to make these drugs or manipulation. Right. When we think about it, we think about the finished product. But when you start thinking about pharmacia or pharmacia, they are taking things that are natural and they are mixing and meshing it to make it into something that can be that can cause manipulation, that can change how you see things, that can change how you think about things, that can change your behaviors, that can cause you to become dependent. It can cause you to have all kinds of mood swings, all kinds of side effects. So I want to just lay this out so you guys understand that, the Most High have laws, statutes, and commandments. He has laws that's in place for everything, not just the commandments that we know of the 10 commandments, but he has laws that are here of gravity. He has laws that are in science. He has laws for things like plants. And, he has laws about how things should function or is supposed to function. And man has a tendency of doing what? Hacking into those laws and causing problems, right? So that's what pharmacia or pharmacia is. Witchcraft, manipulating things that are supposed to be natural, but making it into what? A way to manipulate people. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys understand that. Now, going into hookah, I'm going somewhere. This is Jamal Bryant, right? Sitting in a hookah shop, smoking hookah as a pastor. But what is hookah? Because some of you guys may not be familiar with it. What are the side effects of it? Well, let's go to CDC website, hookah or hookahs. Hookahs are water pipes that are used to smoke specifically made tobacco that comes in different flavors. And you see the different flavors here: apple, mint, cherry, chocolate, coconut, licorice, cappuccino, and watermelon. These are some of the different flavors, right? It goes on to say, I'm not going to highlight the whole article, but you could go to cdc.gov to get more information about it. A typical modern hookah has a head, in other words, with holes in the bottom, a metal bottle, a metal body, a water bowl, and a flexible hose with a mouthpiece. Hookah smoking is typically done in groups with the same mouthpiece passed from person to person. Let me say that again. Hookah smoking is typically done in groups with the same mouthpiece passed from person to person, right? Hookah smoking is not a safe alternative to smoking cigarettes. Let me say that again, because many are getting into hookah, and also vapors and all these things, thinking that this is an alternative to smoking. It is not a safe alternative. Guess what? We, as the people of the Most High, we're not supposed to be smoking at all. But hookah smoking is not a safe alternative to smoking cigarettes. People who use tobacco should quit all tobacco products to reduce health risk. And if you understand the side effects, even when it comes to smoking weed, guess what? It produces the same toxins. It produces the same cancerous toxins, especially when you start understanding what it is. It's all kinds of side effects that comes with marijuana, right? And many are using the excuse of medical marijuana as for a recreational way of using it. Most people that are using it or taking marijuana, smoking weed, it's not for medical purposes. And there's a number of side effects that comes with the territory. Lasting effects, just like cigarettes, right? Lasting effects that you can get all kinds of side effects from second party smoke, or women that may have a child and they smoke weed. And guess what? You can have a lasting effect even after that child develops and is born. They can have issues with their motor skills. They can have issues with how they read their aptitude. They can have issues with comprehension. It's a number of side effects that come with the territory, family. But many will try to manipulate their understanding of the text because they don't want to let go of anything. So hookah smoking is not a safe alternative to smoking cigarettes. People who use tobacco should quit all tobacco products to reduce health risk. It goes on to say here, hookah smoke and cancer. The charcoal used to heat the tobacco can raise health risks by producing high levels of carbon monoxide, metals, and cancer-causing chemicals. That's the same thing if you use marijuana, if you use cannabis in these machines. Still going to produce the same issues, same side effects. Even after it has passed through water, the smoke from a hookah has high levels of these toxic agents. Hookah tobacco and smoke contain several toxic agents known to cause lung cancer, bladder, and oral cancer. And it's not just tobacco, but also cannabis. They're known to cause lung, bladder, and oral cancer. In other words, mouth, throat, neck cancers. Tobacco juices from hookah irritates the mouth and increase the risk of developing oral cancer. And I just put a little bit here with the other side effects of hookah smoke. I just put one here, but you could go to the site and get more of the side effects. And parents, talk to your children. Talk to your children about this, because many of them, without your knowledge, are dipping and dabbing into vapors and all kinds of stuff, or may be around someone who is doing it, and they may not be the one that's doing it. But guess what? The secondhand smoke is just as bad. So hookah, tobacco, and smoke contains many toxic agents that can cause clogged arteries and heart disease. Now, I said all of that to say, to get us to this point right here, right? To get us to this point right here, News One, Pastor Jamal Bryant wants to launch a cannabis business to boost church membership. Come on, family. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. And I want y'all to pay attention to what he says here, right? Let's go here. Just some of his quotes here. Not only is Pastor Jamal Bryant looking for people who smell like weed, he wants his church to get into the cannabis business directly. No, really. New Birth is the largest land-owning Black church in America, he shared. So my position to my deacons is, why are we not raising cannabis? The pastor went on to explain that he thinks he can accomplish by dipping into the industry via his church. This is his quotes. I'll be able to bring black males that are able to do it legally. He said, I'm teaching them farming. I'm helping them to enhance the ecosystem. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. And many people within our own community that says that they are awake will endorse this stuff. Come on, family. Look, family, I did not transition from out of that world to come into the body of the Most High to go to hell. Come on, family. I didn't do that. You didn't do that. If I want to enjoy these things, I'll still be out there in the world. I don't need to be inside the house of the Most High taking these things, doing these things. That's why I got turned off by so many ministries. You coming into church, I'm coming out of the world. I was in the music industry. I was in, I'm not going to get into all of that, but then I come into the world. Come into the church. I called it the world because it was a reflection of it. I'm coming in there and I'm hearing, is New York in the house? People doing all kinds of secular dances and, dancing all up in the assembly. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I want to do all of this, I would have just stayed out there in the world. I'll just stay out there in the club. I don't need to come to church to go to hell. I could just stay where I was. And so I left that ministry. It was hard for me to find a home to plant myself and my family. So family, this is what he's pushing. This is what he is pushing. But I want to share Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 through 23, right? The words of the Messiah. Because we get caught up in, oh, look at this person accomplished this thing. He accomplished that thing. She accomplished this thing. They got to be a man from the Most High. No, family. This is the words of Christ in Matthew chapter 21 through 23. Not everyone that saith unto me, Adonai, Adonai, which means transliterates to Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. But he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. The will of the Father is not for his people to be selling weed. The will of the Father is not for his people to be chasing women, not able to tame our flesh. That's not the will of the Father for his leaders to go out here breaking truces and going out here loving themselves, going out here circumventing the father, circumventing the mother to get to these young-minded women. That's not the thing of the Most High. That's not his will. Not everyone that saith unto me, Adonai, Adonai, in other words, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Verse 22, many will say unto me, Adonai, Adonai, in other words, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we, it says here, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done wonderful works. Name in Hebrew is Sham, which means reputation. So he's saying, haven't we not done this in your reputation? Cast out demons, prophesied in your name, did wonderful works. But notice what it says in verse 23. Then I will profess it to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, worker of iniquity. Depart from me. I never knew you. So just because you see someone that can articulate themselves in a certain way, just because you see someone that may have a certain type of look, a certain type of appearance, just because you see someone that can sing a certain way, just because you see someone that can play the instrument a certain way, just because you see someone that may be of a tall stature, a built stature, whatever it may be, don't get caught up in thinking that they are in alignment with the Most High. These are the same people that Christ is saying here, ye that work iniquity. He's saying, I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. And iniquity in the Greek. So since the church like to deal with the Greek, I'm going to deal with the Greek. The Hebrew word for wicked or iniquity is anomia. Some will pronounce it anomia, but it's anomia, right? And it means this: violation of the law, wickedness, transgression of the law, violation of the law, contempt of the law. Wait a minute, but the church teach that we're not under the law. So because they teach that we're not under the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, it's a breeding ground for the behaviors that we see today. Like this guy right here, like this predator right here. It's the breeding ground that produces these type of behaviors, family. We got to have something that's going to hold us accountable. We have to. If we understand that in this government that we live in, there are guidelines, there are laws, there are statutes and commandments of this land we have to adhere to keep us in a certain, how can I put it? To keep order and civility, right? Even though we can still talk about some of the side effects we see, but that's a whole nother discussion. But that's the goal of having something in place to have boundaries. So what the church teach when they say we don't have to obey the law of the Most High, they are saying that we can do whatever we want to do, and it's going to produce the behaviors that we see, family. So Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20 through 23, it says this. This is a stern warning. It says, woe. There's three woes here. Woe unto them, in the ancient Hebrew is Hawaii. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. But here's the kicker. Here's the second woe. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Come on, family. We see that happening right now. And this is an example of that. This person is wise in his own eyes, prudent in his own sight. The third woe. And some of you guys may not like this, but guess what? This is the word. And I encourage you guys to read Proverbs chapter 31, starting at verse 1, because many have skipped down to verse 10 and talk about the virtuous woman, but they're not referring to the virtuous man that's deserving of a virtuous woman. And you'll see as a mother, the queen is schooling her son on what it means to be a king and how to handle himself. So this is what you're going to see up under there about a king. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink. So in other words, these are people that are using alcohol, that's using wine, and not just those things, because if we speed it up to the now, using substances like marijuana that's going to impede their decision making. And so therefore, they are going to do things that are right in their own eyes. Come on, family. If the Most High says this about leaders drinking wine and strong drinks, so to speak, how much more would he say what we see today, what many people are doing with this cannabis stuff? This is why so many preachers are indulging in so much crazy stuff, like that guy Dawson. He got a whole YouTube channel. You could just look up Dawson Speak or whatever, and you'll see issue after issue, pastor getting caught out there with all kinds of foolishness, getting caught out there with all kinds of lust, doing all kinds of things, murdering, pedophilia. You see all kinds of things that's happening. Why? Because it is based upon a culture that is teaching lasciviousness, that's saying that, hey, we don't have to honor the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Come on, then what's going to keep you in check? Where there's no vision, the people perish. That's the word. Vision is going to bring forth a boundary. Come on, family. So this is what we see right here. We see this right here. So this pastor is pushing, selling drugs, selling weed from the church. Look, man, if he want to indulge in that stuff, step down and go out there into the world and be that drug dealer you want to be. Open up your shops, but don't do it at the expense of the church. He wants to use that land, even though we know that the whole situation with Bishop Eddie Long, but this church been in place even before Bishop Eddie Long came into play. But they want to use that and use it as an excuse. He want to help the ecosystem. He want to teach the kids about farming what? Weed? To be their drug dealer? Come on, family. We don't need gimmicks. That's why Peter says silver and gold to the man that couldn't walk, that was asking for money. He says silver and gold. In other words, I don't have gimmicks to give you, but I could give you Christ. I could give you the Messiah. I could give you a solution to where so you'll never have to be in want. In other words, for this situation again, I could give you a permanent solution versus a temporary fix. So woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink. In other words, they're not, their vision is impaired. They're not thinking like they should think because of what? Under the influence. That's what the scripture is saying, being under the influence, which justify the wicked for reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. So family, we have the scripture right here, right? And I just want to take this time out to talk about this situation. Wasn't trying to preach or anything, but I just want to take the time out, family, to show you just where we living at right now. When did you ever think that there was going to be a day and time that you're going to see this coming across the pulpit? I mean, the way that I was raised, I mean, hey, when you saw a preacher come by, we were raised, hey, if you have, close your open containers. If you're drinking beer, whatever, close your open containers, put it down, be very respectful in how you articulate. If you're smoking, put it out, all that. These are the things that we were taught. Now that same preacher is indulging and right there with the people. See, this is what Paul warned about. Hasatan disguises himself as an angel of light. Angel, malak in Hebrew, means messenger. So he's going to disguise himself as the messenger of truth. And he says that he has ministers too. He has pastors. He has leaders too. And this is one of them right here. Come on, family. Come on, family. You did not come out of the streets. You did not come out of an area, a little place of being dependent to go into this foolishness right here. And as you see Jamal Bryant, he's smoking hookah right here. Come on, family. Like the old school would say, man, we need salvation, man. We need salvation like never before. We need to start tarrying. We need to do these things, family. So again, I just want to share a little thought here. Just want to take a little moment to touch on this here briefly. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I encourage you guys to talk about this, and we'll talk about it more probably next week. But I hope this helps you guys out. Should we be surprised about this behavior? Absolutely not, because this man has a track record. He has a history of this. And not just him, other pastors, other leaders have this same history, because guess what? He's not rolling by himself, family. What other pastors are rolling with him? What other so-called leaders rolling with him? What other women that's rolling with him? Who's rolling with him? Who's rolling with this guy? This is what happens when we keep allowing or keep kicking the can down the road instead of addressing issues we need to address. This is why the church doesn't have the influence like it used to have. When politicians would run for office, the first place they used to go to is the church. The church I grew up in, every politician came to our church. Guess what? They don't come there first now. They go everywhere but the church. And that's an indicator of how the church, as we know it, lost its way, continue to lose its way, and how no one is respecting the power of the church anymore. So many people are leaving in droves. That's why, hey, I had to pull our ministry out of Christianity because I didn't like the things that I was seeing there. Didn't like it. So with that being said, family, appreciate you guys for tuning in. And in the words of Moses in Exodus chapter 3, or not chapter 3, chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, he said to Israel, who came out of Egypt, but they were still struggling. They came to a dead end. They came to a challenge that they thought that it was too much for them to make it through. They began to complain. They began to talk. They began to they began to even have conversations of going back to Egypt, going back into bondage. And Moses had to say to them, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, You will never have to deal with them again. In other words, they will never have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. He says in that text, you have to hold your peace. In other words, be quiet. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.